And I hope it's still true what she said at the end, that the people will be the ones to decide the future. Hello,
Hi everyone,
I'm Waldemar,
and I'm Weronika.
and today we are watching a video that I have seen many people react to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's called "How Strong is the United States Military? Why is the US military the strongest?" Yeah, I think we all know for the fact that the US military is the strongest one in the world.
Yeah, of course. I would say by far.
I think by far.
I think by far.
I heard one time that they have a war doctrine, and they exercise that they would be able to fight 50 nations at the same time, but I don't.
I don't know which
Yeah,
nations?
I don't remember it very well, and I don't
Yeah.
know how accurate is this statement, because which 50 nations?
Yeah, I just meant in comparison to China, for example, because we don't have that so well documented what China actually.
Yeah,
does
we don't
have.
know. We don't know what China is capable
Yeah.
of right now.
But I think I would still wager that.
But
it's by far.
I think experience is also part of that. You know, China doesn't have as much experience
Leading
in
a
the
war. Yeah.
wars nowadays as United States does, and United States has some wars for every generation. So you know that's practice. You know that's new strategies, new experience.
Yeah, it's like you say, and then also funding, money, equipment, and everything. While coupled with, like you were saying, with strategy and experience and
Yeah, because
education.
China probably has
A lot of equipment too.
a lot of equipment,
Not
a lot
as
of
much,
capabilities to produce a lot of equipment in a quick time, but they don't have any experience, you know. But I need to have experienced leaders, experienced generals,
That's true.
and you know, like also to know where to apply your troops, how to apply them,
How to train them, yeah. All
yeah,
that.
the training too also. Like I remember reading somewhere or watching something that it was very important for the United States to be engaged in different warfares
Mhm.
at the beginning of their when they were created,
Mhm.
United States,
Mhm.
because they were not so experienced in warfare. They had a
Alright.
civil war. They had some wars with Mexico.
Yeah, but not the large scale war
Yeah, and the World War One was
training field.
kind of like a training field, but also
Mhm.
like a first big exam in the modern warfare.
Mhm.
And that thanks to USA being part of the First World War, that was the reason why they were such a powerhouse in the Second World War, because they already had an experience. They knew how to, you know, engage in a conflict on a different continent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What equipment to use, how to, because you know it's a big operation to transfer so many people and so much equipment on the other side of the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, we hope to learn something interesting from this video. We haven't seen that one. I just seen people react to it, and it was pretty popular one.
Okay, so maybe it's good.
So I hope it's good.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Why is the US military the strongest?
I don't know why that happened.
Great military powers have been appearing and disappearing
since the beginning of history.
Now is the time for the United States of America to be the leader in military might. But what makes it so powerful? Will its power remain undisputed? Are there already signs of weakness? Would it really stand in a conflict with potential rivals like China or Russia? To find out, we should analyse why exactly the US military is considered the strongest. The numbers. The US has 1,400,000 active military personnel. This figure places it in third place in this category. China has the largest army with slightly above 2 million soldiers, while India comes in second place. This doesn't sound that impressive, but what makes the US military stand out is not necessarily the raw number of men. The US has unquestionable air supremacy. The US military is number 1 in air power, with 13,264
Oh, wow.
total military
That is
aircraft.
by far.
A total that is greater than the other 5
Yeah.
greatest air forces combined. 2,085 are air-to-air fighters, 715 ground attack aircraft, 945 transportation aircraft, 5,768 helicopters, and 967 attack helicopters. The US is number 1 in each aircraft category, except for air-to-ground forces, where it's slightly topped by Russia. The US has a powerful navy that is designed to work in conjunction with its air forces. It has 20 aircraft carriers, 11 are regular fixed-wing carriers, while 9 are
Don't
capable
mess with
of
those
boosting
boats.
only helicopters and short
Yes, we
takeoff
know.
planes like the F-35B. This is almost half of the world's total number of aircraft carriers,
Oh, wow.
while most of the others belong to allied countries. If we take into account only regular fixed-wing aircraft capacity, the total combined deck space of the US aircraft carriers is over twice that of all the other nations combined. To complement this, the US Navy has the greatest number of destroyers and ranks 3rd in the number of submarines.
North Korea has such.
The numbers of the US
Oh, that's worrying. I had no idea that North
Yeah, I
Korea
heard
has
that they are.
the biggest number of submarines.
I heard that they do, and that it's related to both like the nuclear power and also the fact that they just do a lot of, I don't know if it's true or not, but like, research undetected, that you're able to slip past. But then I don't know, because I hear this, maybe I'm an idiot, so educate me. I mean, I'm sure in some regards, but what kind of research do you conduct from underwater?
I don't know.
I don't think it's literally that they take the periscope out of the water and just have a look-see.
But on the other hand, maybe you are able to like send some drones out of the submarine,
Maybe.
which could not fly from North Korea, but it can fly out from the submarine. I don't know. I'm
Maybe.
just guessing.
If you know, then let us know, because I'm really curious.
What a sick country, by the way. Like, people don't have anything to eat. They are starving, but they have enough money to build 83 submarines.
We don't have a money problem.
And also, I wonder how reliable is this data? And I don't mean only for North Korea. I mean for every country. Like, does United States really share the number of its whole equipment? Like, oh, we have that many tanks, we have that many planes, and that this is our newest plane. We don't have a newer plane than that. I think there must be some secrets. I mean, it's a military.
There must be. I mean, there's the international agreements that they are like the main signer of, so they have to honor them, I suppose. I think it's, if it was me who was making this decision, I think I would just count what is easy to be discovered. So if I made a new plane, I for sure wouldn't enclose it. If it's just like 1 or 2 prototypes, that I have the technology, because what's the point? I guess I want to have that advantage. But if I wouldn't be hiding, I don't know, 1,000 tanks, because that could be discovered and then I lose face, and that's, even
Yeah,
a
I
threat.
remember, I think from this video we watched about the nuclear warheads, that we cannot hide those warheads that are shot from the underground,
Yeah.
because we know where they are, but where are all the nuclear submarines?
We don't know.
We don't know where they are,
But I can't.
and they are swimming all the time, even though.
Yeah, I don't see. Yeah. I don't see the reason for North Korea or China to disclose to the West all of the weapons that they have. I know they have trading agreements. I know they want to have international relations, but I just don't. I don't think they would be.
Yeah, and also like we know from history that the Nazi Germany, for example, they miscalculated badly the potential of the Soviet Union,
Yeah.
and they thought that they had a much less equipment that they actually had.
I think
I mean, after that they were producing, of course, a lot too, and that was a part of it. But even at the beginning, I think the Germany thought that the Russian equipment is much lesser than it actually was.
Yeah.
naval strength are a bit tricky. If we count the total number of naval assets, the US falls in 4th place, behind Russia and China, and even behind North Korea, that boasts a surprising 1st place. However, in case of a maritime conflict, it would still be hard to counter the power of the US Navy, supported by overwhelming air supremacy and allied forces. Land power. The US is slightly behind Russia regarding raw numbers. American ground forces number 6,289 tanks, 39,000 armoured vehicles, 1,465 self-propelled artillery, and 1,366 rocket projectors. However, Russia has a lot of outdated...
Oh, I think they just contradicted the point that they wanted to make, because she's now gonna say that it's outdated. But I was just gonna ask, is this video made by an American? Because she said like just slightly behind, and the numbers were like vastly smaller. But I think maybe it's the point that this equipment is outdated.
Yeah, the Russia has a problem with that, fortunately.
Dated vehicles with questionable performance in case of a real conflict. Meanwhile, the US military has a broad technological edge. The US has 5,800 nuclear warheads that make it the world's second largest in nuclear war power. In this video, we're analysing the conventional military strength, but it can't be denied that a nuclear arsenal does bring a certain status. Even if things don't escalate to a full-blown nuclear war, it's intimidating to any country to be armoured with such nuclear power. The quality. The US Army consists entirely of trained professionals, and many have real combat experience. Since the beginning of this century, the US has been involved in military conflicts in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Somalia, Libya, Uganda, and Yemen. While other countries still rely on conscripts to fill the numbers, the US can field an army of well-trained, experienced professionals. The equipment, the military assets, and the technology used in combat have excellent quality. This is the defining reason why US casualties are usually fewer than those of their adversaries. A strong ability to project power is another defining trait of the United States military. Size, technology, and experience are nothing if you can't reach the enemy. Power projection is the ability of a state to deploy and sustain forces outside its territory. Only a few states are capable to overcome the difficulties that involve power projection, and the US excels at it. This is made possible by several factors. The home base of the US is safe. The neighbouring countries are friendly. Potential enemies are far away. The large landmass makes it a country that is hard to invade. It also has coastlines along 2 oceans and strategic islands that hold military bases. The US forces can reach far, fast, and deploy great numbers of forces supported by the enforcement of air and sea superiority, combined with excellent transportation capabilities. Even if it doesn't engage in combat, the US can enforce naval and air blockades that can severely cripple an enemy's economy. The US has by far the largest network of military bases operating outside of its territory. Information regarding the exact number and location of such bases involves classified information, so we can only estimate the total extent of the overseas military presence. Back in 2013, the Pentagon stated that there were around 600 military bases overseas. A rough estimate would be around 1,000 overseas US military compounds. Approximately 165,000 military personnel is stationed outside the United States. This doesn't include areas of conflict such as Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. The US has significant forces deployed in around 55 countries and autonomous territories. It is also estimated that more than 150 countries have a certain degree of US military presence. Alliances. The United States can rely on a vast network of alliances. It is the de facto leader of NATO, the world's strongest military alliance. 18 other countries are designated as major non-NATO allies. This list includes countries like Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, Philippines, Thailand, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Egypt, Israel, Argentina, and Brazil. Taiwan's status is a bit more complicated, and it can be considered a de facto ally. Some countries are not formal allies but have a strong strategic partnership with the US. One notable example is India, that participates in regular military drills together with US forces and some of its allies. Economy. Modern warfare.
This is a troubling subject. Like, I can't understand what is happening right now with this whole Greenland, Denmark, Canada, and
it's a
like
it's tough time.
you have such a good position, you know. America is so respected on the whole world, and like we
And it's so
Europeans we rely on them.
But it's so respected that like even hearing about the American force, I feel safe because
I felt safe.
I felt safe, yeah, but I still have like remnants of that, like, like thinking that, okay, no one would ever attack Poland because Poland is an ally of America, so of course no one's going to attack us. And now just to throw it out of the window, I mean, not really, but the security.
But like 3 months ago, you were like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We have war going in Ukraine, but we in Poland were like, okay, we are part of NATO. I mean, Russia will not mess with United States. We are part of this pact, and when United States were under attack, we helped them. We went to Iraq, right?
Yeah.
And not only us, the English and the French too. And I mean, I don't think Iraq. I think they went to Afghanistan.
I think
But
Polish went to Iraq as well.
Polish went to Iraq
yeah.
and Afghanistan, but with Iraq, I don't think. I'm not sure if the
British and the French.
Yeah, if they came to.
British went to Iraq, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not sure. Yeah, but yeah, we were part of this NATO alliance, and it worked. And we trained with each other. We helped each other. We are spending the money as requested on the defense budget.
Yeah, there's
and now this guy is like, if the Denmark will not give us the Greenland, then we will need to think about something because like what? How is this happening? It really is. And I know that probably many of you were voting for Trump's, and I understand you had reasons for that. I really do. I'm not one of those left-wing mindless people that thinks that the only problems are gender, climate, and stuff like that. I know that there are other issues. And I know that you were tired of seeing all the same faces I understand why Hillary Clinton lost to Trump.
Yeah.
Because, how many years can you be in the office and still be promising things to be better? Like, of course, I understand it. But now, I mean, I can't wrap my head around this. Like, you had such a good thing, such a strong relationships with so many powerful countries, with the whole Europe basically, and 3 months later, you are sending threats to Canada, to Denmark.
Yeah, and I find it so hard to believe that anyone actually wants that. I mean, the consequences of it, I'm not saying that some people don't want the US to be even more powerful than it is, even though it is, and it's so petty and it's so small. I'm sorry if I'm offending someone, but you have the largest power in the world, by almost economy-wise. In almost first place in economy, military.
No, almost.
Well,
the first
China
place.
is making a lot of revenue as well, right?
But not first.
Yeah, but so you have all this power, and what you're worried about is that a piece of a bit of water is called the Gulf of Mexico. And that's what bothers you, and it's worth it.
And also, why do you need Canada for?
Yeah.
I mean, you have a perfect relationship with Canada. You have a great trade with them. When it comes to Greenland, you can do whatever you want there. I mean, the Denmark doesn't mind, and America already has bases there on Greenland, and they can do whatever they want there. They need to just say that they want to do something, and who will stop them?
Yeah, it's really scary because those are the first weeks.
Because you need to have the same color on the map. It's like he's playing the game of like Hearts of Iron.
Yeah.
That he needs to have the same name on the map on the different places.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, it's emotional because it's scary, and I think it's the same case for a lot of Americans right now. Just because it's scary, so it's hard to be like, oh yeah, I understand everything, because it's just scary.
Yeah, I remember the times when there was Obama versus McCain, and you were like, oh well, let's see who will win. Oh, this is the guy win. Okay, so we will have 4 more years of that, or 4 more years of that. But you were like, America will still be America.
Yeah.
And now it's like
crazy. Yeah.
is sustained in the long term by two main factors: the capacity to produce military equipment and the capacity to spend money on defence. American defence companies are the indisputable top producers of weaponry. Among the world's top 10 defence suppliers, 5 of them are American companies. Lockheed Martin is the biggest. It reported a revenue of almost $60 billion in 2019. That's close to Russia's entire annual military spending. The strength of the US military is also due to its huge military budget. In 2019, spending on the US military was a whopping $732 billion. That's almost 3 times more than China, the world's second largest military spender, and is roughly 1/3 of the entire world's defence budget. While Russia is commonly regarded as the second most powerful army in the world, its budget consists of only $65 billion. Arguably, there is an aspect of purchasing power. For example, it's cheaper to pay a Russian or Chinese soldier, but the cost of high-quality military equipment is still the same around the world. The reason that the US can afford such an enormous military budget is that it's supported by a strong economy. America has been the world's largest economy since 1871. Its nominal GDP is currently $21.44 trillion. This is almost a quarter of the global economy, and it's backed with plenty of natural resources, advanced infrastructure and technology. Besides the ability to sustain an enormous defence budget, the US often uses its economic strength as a weapon by enforcing economic sanctions. Soft factors. Soft power is another factor that comes into play when assessing a country's might. The US is world-beating in culture, education and technology. American pop culture has an enormous influence, and this won't change anytime soon. America also hosts most of the world's top-ranking universities with a record number of international students. The US leads the world of technology and digitalization as home to the world's most influential tech companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Facebook. It's easy to think that this doesn't seem important in warfare, but imagine an enemy soldier that would have to attack the country where his cousin studies, the country of his favourite music band, the country of his favourite actors from the movie that he watches on an American media platform like YouTube, or an American smartphone with American software. Finally, there is another critical aspect. It is called the will to fight, and this is the single most important factor in war. The will to fight is the disposition to engage in combat, the determination to keep fighting even when facing precarious odds, and finally to win. At an individual level, a soldier with a low will to fight will avoid engagement with the enemy and is likely to flee when things get tough. A battle is won when the enemy's will to fight is broken. Wars don't end when one military destroys the other. Wars end when one side grows weary of fighting, doesn't see any further purpose in the continuation of the conflict, and gives up. The national will to fight is what keeps a nation fighting. This is commonly linked to a sense of patriotism, national identity, and motivation generated by the idea that one fights for what is right. In the past, this has been a strong point of the US, as Americans have been fighting against dictators and terrorists that lacked concern for human life and dignity. In contrast, the USA has been regarded as a country that embodies values of freedom, democracy, and rule of law. It was the country that defined such values. Even more, it was the country that was willing to fight for these values. The American soldier has been motivated by a sense of moral supremacy rooted in the country's Christian tradition. However, America doesn't seem to be so cohesive in its values anymore. There are many factors intertwined that provoke this. It's a complex topic that deserves a study on its own. But the outcome is that America is now a country that is greatly divided among ideological lines and systems of belief. Many of its citizens are not sure what to believe in anymore, or even what they stand for. There have been many lessons in history. Small nations became great empires by holding high moral standards along with a disciplined and motivated army. A great empire's fall was usually preceded by internal strife and moral crisis. The final story of the United States of America as a global power is not yet written. The nation's strength rests upon its citizens and their decisions. It's a matter of this great nation getting back its cohesion and moral compass. That is, if it wants to keep its status as the world's greatest superpower and defender of freedom.
Oh, very good video. And
Yeah.
I like the ending. It was like, it gave you something to think about.
Yeah, for sure. It was really. I like the voice of the woman as well, and I like the voice of her as well. The small detail, but it was really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope it's still true what she said at the end, that the people will be the ones to decide the future, because one scenario that worries me is that the elites, the people with the money will have so much power. They already have much more power than they had 5-10 years ago, and it worries me that because of the technology being all, and internet, the social media being held into hands of very few people, that they will be able to dictate
Who knows what? And
what
Yeah.
to think, and to create like a narration, something that was impossible, or maybe not impossible, but very hard years ago. Now, thanks to the AI, thanks to bots, it's easier to
control. Yeah.
to manipulate the public opinion, to make them think that something that is only supported by 3% of the people is actually supported by the 30%. Because, you scroll through the TikTok, for example,
And you see that.
you
yeah.
cannot control what you are seeing. You're just scrolling through videos, and there is this algorithm that somehow should show you what you want to watch, but you don't have any control over it.
Yeah, but if it shows you, if it only chooses, if you only have choice from the 10 videos that it shows you, and you like the 2 videos the most, that's still manipulation.
Yeah, they will. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's something to really think about and to be careful, because I think a lot of us, we think we're so intelligent, and we spend so much time thinking and talking about politics, whether you're right wing or left wing, and we think we wouldn't be able to be manipulated. But I think we would be. I think all of us, including me and me, we would be able to be manipulated, because people who do it, they're often very good at it, and you don't even know you're being manipulated.
Of
It's not
course.
just bots and trolls and obvious fake clickbaity titles. It's really subtle ways in which you can be manipulated. So you always have to question everything.
of course. But how you need to have some sort of trust, and you need to
Yeah.
rely on
On
other
information,
people to give you information. Like when there is a war in Iraq, for example,
Mhm.
you can't go there
And check.
and check okay, so this is how it's going. You need to have some sort of trust that you can rely on the
Yeah,
media.
you can't succumb to paranoia either, but this just means that if there was a global conspiracy to manipulate you, then you would be manipulated, because there would be no way to avoid it.
Yeah, exactly. And especially nowadays, when almost all the information is on the social media.
Yeah.
And it was and it is good for some reason, like when the countries try to take over the media
Mhm.
in their countries, which happened in Hungary, for example, when the Orban took control of all the media in the country. Then there is internet,
Yeah.
and fortunately you can have some freedom of speech there. But now it became tricky because of all this AI. You read a comment somewhere, and nowadays you don't even know if this is a real person or not.
Yeah.
Some years ago, you need to hire people, like a troll farm or whatever you call it, and you need to have people to actually type those comments for 10
now
hours a day.
It can write, and it can respond, and it can engage into discussions
Yeah,
as well.
and you don't even know if you are speaking with a person or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a scary time to believe in, but on the other hand, what gives me some comfort is that all the time was scary to live in.
Yeah, you're right. We had a period of calm very recently, so it feels very jarring.
But it wasn't really calm.
But it was calm, I was going to say, from where we were sitting.
Not
And
really.
not-
Not really. I think there is always something. It seemed calmer, but I remember myself from that period, and I remember all those those threats of terrorism.
Yeah, Yeah, true.
And you were like, oh, there is bombing there.
And
there is some shooting there.
Yeah,
And you were like, what we're gonna do with the ISIS? What we're gonna do with Al Qaeda? What we're gonna do with them? Oh, there was a bombing in London. Oh, there was an attack in Madrid.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And even the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, it started way earlier than 2020. There was
2014.
Yeah, there was a lot on the news in Poland sporadically about that happening as well. Yeah.
So there is always something, and I don't think that there ever will be a period in our history that everything will be in order, and you can just chill, go to work, earn money. There will always be problems to solve. I don't think we can all be prosperous.
No, of course not. Of course not. And there's the degree of like rationality, how much you can worry about it, like worry about it to the extent that you make good decisions for your country, whatever you think they are.
It's just what was giving us a comfort was having the United States as
as the sane person. It's exactly like she said. It's I don't know. It was when there was discrimination going on in Poland, like really rampant discrimination, of different groups. And we were getting tariffs from the European Union as well, but I always had this impression
not
in my
tariffs,
head.
you mean like fines?
Fines, yes. Fines, yeah. And I was just thinking always like, oh, we can't act like this internationally because the United States won't want to trade with us because human rights, because you have to treat everyone well. Not even talking about extreme issues, but it was always like that. Like, oh, you can't do that because the United States is looking at you. Despite every other wars and stuff.
I mean, of course, United States is not a perfect country, and of course they committed. Well,
I said despite other wars and bombings and of course other things, but just the picture of it, of what it was trying to stand for. It's what I always.
And especially what she said, the people believed in it.
Yeah.
The normal soldier, the everyday soldier, had those values in his core because he was raised with those values being believed in his house.
Yeah, and it was like the distilled Christianity that everyone wants Christianity to be, but it very often is not. At least for me, that it wasn't even political, right wing or left wing. It was just that everyone should be happy, everyone has the right to live, you have the right to be free, and we fight for that. And it was we're above all the.
And now
division.
and now it's like
and now it's
yes,
not,
but on the other hand, yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching.
Very good, well executed video.
And please comment. We would like to read comments, especially under this video, because I think we talked about some issues that bother all of us.
Yeah.
So if you have any thoughts, how it looks from your perspective, I don't say you need to give us comfort, but if you have worries similar to that, or if you think on the contrary,
it's unwarranted,
I mean, everyone is welcome here on this channel. We've never banned anyone, and I know you sometimes disagree with what we are saying.
Yeah, that's
we
completely
are
fine.
not,
we should be this is exactly what we're saying. We should be talking about this.
We are not shying away, with our opinions. We are not like one of those people who will sit on the YouTube and pretend that we have all those opinions that are currently popular, but then we may have different opinions. Like if you watched us for a longer time, you probably know what our opinions are on some matters. So if you have yours, please share them. And as always, have a great day, and thank you for watching us.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Have a nice day.